It's time to learn, repair, and maintain everything coffee. Instructional videos brought to you by WholeLatteLove.com.
All right, so we're here with Ted, a lead repair technician here at Whole Latte Love. We're going to take a look at a problem you might be having on a Gaggia Titanium and how to solve that. What do we got, Ted?
Sometimes customers, when they get new machines, or sometimes a repair that comes back, the steam doesn't activate or hot water. That can be caused from a misaligned steam knob on the steam valve shaft.
So this guy right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How do we take care of that problem?
Basically, we need to open up the top of the machine.
Okay.
And first of all, we need to turn it off, unplug it.
Unplug it. Safety first?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely don't want to, because when you remove the top, there's some wires that are going to be exposed.
Okay.
And then we need to clean out any beans that might be in the hopper before you go ahead and dismantle the top part.
So you're just going to vacuum those out. What other tools are we going to need for this?
The other tools that you'll need is a small fine point Phillips head screwdriver.
Okay.
Just a small point, not one of those big fat ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use just a regular flat blade screwdriver to get a certain component out of the way when we get in there.
Okay, let's get at it. So step one, suck out the beans.
Yes. So
Or after the machine's unplugged.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to do that now.
Yep.
I try to get out as much as I can so when you take the hopper out,
Not
it doesn't
making a
spill
mess.
all over the place
Sure.
on the inside.
Okay.
So next,
Go ahead.
remove your tank. You can either set it off to the side, dump it, whatever you want to do, just make sure it's out of the way.
Okay.
Take your hopper lid off.
And how did that come off? That was just kind of, that's just kind
It's
of like
just two hinges on each side. It's in a groove that you just pull up with your fingers so it doesn't break the tabs.
Okay.
And then remove your bypass lid.
Okay.
And then the next thing you're going to do is undo these two screws.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 screws on the bean hopper.
Okay.
And then there's 2 screws on the back side here.
All right.
So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Does the order make a difference?
No, it's just get all those screws off and then we'll be
Okay.
able to go to the next step. So I'm going to undo these.
Magnetic tip really helps with that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm
You don't
making it look easier right now because I'm using a power drill and I got a magnetic tip.
Right.
But if you don't, you just got to work with what you have.
And I'm assuming you don't want to let those screws drop down into the doser or the grinder.
No, I mean, if it does, you can always get it out after you get the bean hopper off and out of the way.
Okay, okay.
These black screws on the back sometimes can be a pain to come out, especially if you don't have a magnetic tip, because it likes to stop just before the opening of the hole.
Okay.
So then you got to fish around and try to
something
get it out of
behind
there.
Okay.
That's why a magnetic tip does help, because it kind of pulls it out as you're unscrewing it.
Right tool for the right job.
Yep. So now I got all the screws out. I got these
Okay.
2, these 3, and then these 2 on the back.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to pull. I just put my thumbs in and pull upwards on the bypass
Okay.
chute. Comes right out. And set that off to the side. Now, you're going to want to keep track of where your markings are when you take your hopper off, because you want to make sure those are put back in the same exact spot or
Okay.
close to it.
Okay.
Because if you move this out and you move your knobs and you put it back in correctly, you're not going to have the right dosing setting or the right grinder setting.
So make a note. So
Make a
like
note of
where
where
are
it is.
we right
Well,
now?
this one's on an 8.
Okay.
This one's on the max dosage.
Okay.
Most time they don't move, but you just want to keep an eye on that just to make sure.
Just in case. Okay.
So you're going to lift straight up like
Okay.
that. See how the knobs aren't moving, but by moving it around and setting it down, sometimes the
get
gears
knocked.
can get bumped or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm just going to set it down
And try not to let those
and
guys
not let it bump around too much.
Okay.
Now that we got those out of the way, these 2 screws are out. All you're going to do is lift up on the back and slide like that.
just towards the back a little bit. So
Yep.
lift up the back.
Because
slide
there's a
back.
lip on the front side here that goes underneath here.
Okay.
So when you do that, it comes right up.
And then we
You
some
got a
wires.
wire here and you got 2 wires back here. This is to your heat plate and this is just a ground on the machine.
Okay.
There's a little prong on here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's right above my thumbnail.
Yep.
You push down on it and you can slide the plug right off.
Release that. Okay.
Yep. These ones here, you just wiggle and pull them off.
Now, when we put it back together, does it make a difference where those 2 go, or will they
These
only go
2,
one
it
spot?
doesn't matter because it's just
Okay.
a constant flow through the
Okay.
thing.
That's for like the cup warming
Yes.
surface? Okay.
So it doesn't matter which one goes where.
Okay. Right.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Set the lid off to the side, and now we have the open machine here.
And this is the problem area. Right?
This is the steam valve.
Uh-huh.
It's in a housing, and then this is the steam knob.
Okay.
All right, and then right here is where the problem can, happen.
Okay.
This one's incorrectly. But if you
have one out.
I have one out to show you what can possibly happen. Now, there's 3 slots on the steam knob. There's these 2 on each side that are bigger, and then this one that's on the one side where this little guide is for the opening on the inside of this. Here, I'll turn it so you can see. There's a guide where this little arm sticks out on the metal housing. You can't see it because there's a white sleeve that's covering it.
Yeah.
But it stops the knob from going too far this way and too far the other way.
Okay.
If that guide wasn't there, then the knob would keep spinning and spinning and spinning.
Okay.
That's why that's there.
Okay.
But that longer opening where the guide is needs to be directly in line with this like arrow-looking thing on the shaft.
Okay. So see, can you set the knob on there so we see what? So the idea is to have it like that. So that's that longer slot.
Yep.
And then there's 2 shorter.
And then there's 2 arms with the shorter slots that go onto those also. Okay. Now, what can happen is the knob during shipment or for whatever reason during manufacturing didn't get put on exactly correct, and it'll get wedged on there in the wrong position. So what happens is when it's on the wrong position, this guide goes up and down on the slot, but it doesn't move this in the right way to where the long arm activates this micro switch on the back side.
Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is make sure that's aligned correctly. So, okay.
Okay. Now the key is you want to make sure this is on properly. You don't want to put it on upside down or whatever way. You just want to make sure that longer slot is over the arrow and the 2 pegs are in the
those 2
shorter slots.
Okay.
Okay. That is the properly aligned head.
So we'll take a look at that in the machine here.
What you're going to do to make this easy is you're going to take off this metal clip. Now, I didn't show you that on there, but there's a metal clip and then there's this metal sleeve.
Okay.
Okay. This metal clip, you're going to, normally your setup is this way when you open it up, because this is the closed position. You're going to turn it so that this metal clip is facing almost upwards.
Okay.
Now, what you're going to do is take your flat blade screwdriver, use this as a wedge point right here, and put your screwdriver flathead right underneath that thing.
Okay.
You can put your hand over it or your finger or whatever you want to use, because you're going to press upwards
So you're lifting up with this.
and
blade.
slide it off.
Okay. Oh, okay. Got
Now, if you don't have your hand in there and you're prying up, that thing will go
it.
flying.
It'll go flying.
It'll go flying.
You don't want to lose.
So we're going to set that off to the side.
Okay, and that's what that looks like.
That makes it so we can move this knob back and forth now.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it back in the upright position. And now you got this white sleeve. It's like a film of some sort to keep it protected from scratching the inside out.
Okay.
It's got a notch on one side where that little arm sticks out and goes into it.
Okay.
So if you turn it upside down, you won't see it. But if you turn it back, it should still be in the same spot. But if this sleeve pops out for whatever reason on the arm here, just make sure it's back on that right position here.
Okay.
That's the only spot it goes into. So.
All right.
But by taking that metal clip off, we can now move the arm in and out, or the knob in and out. Sometimes this metal sleeve right here, with the little prongs on both sides, is slid all the way forward,
Okay.
right up to the edge here. Or actually, I'm sorry, all the way
All
back.
the way back towards the knob.
So then you need to slide it forward, but you got to be careful. You don't want to slide it all the way off.
Okay.
You just want to get it close to the edge like this one is almost already.
So that one's in the proper position.
Yeah, I'm going to slide it forward just a little bit more.
Let's see what it.
See if I can do it with. And you kind of got to go back and forth in a couple of spots and be very slow and cautious with it, because if you're
Okay.
trying to go too fast, it'll slide right off on you.
Okay.
Now I got that metal sleeve all the way forward. By doing so, now I can take this knob and slide it back
Okay.
off from the shaft.
So that takes a little pressure off of the.
Yeah, because if this sleeve was back a little bit, you wouldn't be able to pull it that far off.
Okay. And that's our long slot? Is that the long
That is the
slot?
long slot. Now, usually this metal clip that's around the knob here, these 2 like prongs on each side
Yeah.
will be almost directly on top of that long slot.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it is or not, but that's usually where it's positioned.
Okay.
On new machines when they come, or whatever.
Okay.
And you won't be able to see the two shorter slots because the metal sleeve
Okay.
will be over it, but you can
Sorta
kind
good,
of see it.
Yeah.
Just look on both sides and you'll see that there's a notch on the knob on both sides.
Yep. Okay.
And then you got that long, narrow one. Now, if your steam valve is, turned like this,
Okay.
and the knob is on like that,
That's wrong.
that is wrong because now it's not going to activate
Right.
the switch like it's supposed to.
Okay.
So we're going to slide that off again. And you'll want to either position this in the right spot, or if you can see where the arrow thing is, put the
that-
long slot over it,
And then slide around.
and then put it back in the position.
Okay. Okay. So you're just pulling that out a little bit, turning things to get it lined up, and then pushing it back on.
Yeah, making sure it's on the right spot.
Okay.
Okay. When it's on the right spot, make sure your white sleeve is in place.
White sleeve over there. Yeah.
Okay. I usually turn it back upside down. Get the metal clip. And there's a notch on both sides right close to the wall.
Okay.
You see the one right here and then the one over here.
Yep.
And then it's not a notch right here.
Okay.
These clips on both sides of this clip go down on the notches.
Okay.
So you're going to get it lined in there.
So it's like a little groove there. It's
Yeah,
kind
you
of
get it right on the groove on both sides. Use your thumb, hold the knob in a position with your fingers, and push down.
And it snaps.
And
in
it
place.
snaps back in there.
Okay.
That keeps the knob from moving around now.
Okay.
Now I'm going to move it back in the upright position. And then I'm just going to use my screwdriver, and I'll move this sleeve back a little bit.
And that kind of keeps the pressure on things there to.
It keeps pressure on
together.
the notch here and
Yeah.
whatnot, but you don't want it that far forward because what happens is you see these arms that stick out on both sides of
Yep.
the shaft here. This knob moves back and forth on that. See how it slid out away from it? Now when you go inwards, those sometimes will go in the notches,
Okay.
and if this is over the notches, it won't allow it to slide in properly,
Gotcha.
and it'll push on the shaft instead.
So you want to slide that clip back.
Yeah, you want to slide it so like about 1/8 of an inch or so right here.
Okay.
So it's over the sleeve a little bit. That way, if these things do come into the notches, they won't be stopped by the metal thing.
Right. Cool.
And that's basically how you make sure the knob is on the steam
Okay.
valve correctly.
And that's
And then it's just a matter of putting the top back on.
all right. Why don't we do that?
Okay.
So we.
The top, I usually turn the machine to this side so the knob is facing me. I gotta plug the wires in. I usually go with the ground one either first because it's easier to put that on before putting these on.
Okay.
And it just slides on and it clicks.
Okay.
You just make sure it's on by pulling it. If it doesn't come off, you're good.
Okay.
Then I will take these two, rest the lid on my hand,
Rest it on the hand. Okay.
put it in.
I think it doesn't matter which of those goes where.
Nope, it doesn't matter which one goes where. You just gotta make sure they're plugged in and secure,
Okay.
that they're not gonna come off. Like those are just for the heat tray up here on top. Kind of push those off that way. Keep this wire off this way.
Okay.
You're gonna make sure the front of the lid is going underneath this lip.
It's got a groove there that it kind of slides into.
Yep, and then there's a groove or a channel here on each side that goes on the inside of this housing.
Okay.
And then these little arms, I guess is what you call them, they go on the outside of the housing.
Okay.
So when you get it in the right spot, that actually went in relatively easy for me, but sometimes you have to work with it and get it in the right spot to fall in a position.
Okay.
And then sometimes you got these 3 arms back here that stick up for this to go in front of.
Okay.
So you got to make sure, I usually just push my fingers back so they go behind it.
Those end up interior to the thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that'll stop you from getting the lid all the way down
Okay.
sometimes.
All right.
Sometimes it falls right into place. If not, you just got to push back on that little piece, not too hard, you don't want to break it,
Sure.
and it'll just drop right into place.
Okay.
Then all you got to do is get your screws, the 2 long black ones, put them in.
Little self-test. Those go in the back, I guess, because the back's pointing at me.
Yes, the black, there's the 2 black ones are the only ones that go on the back side. Just make sure they go in the correct spaces here.
Okay.
And then you're just gonna line it up and it will stop. And what this does is it also draws the top into the front
Okay.
when the screws get tightened down. Because right now you can see on this side,
Still a little
this is a
separated.
little separated right here,
Right.
but this side is not.
When you get that
and when you
screw
get
in the
that
middle.
screw drawn in, it actually tightens that right up.
Now, do you need to be careful, you know, the kind of force that I see, you know, you've got the electric drill there and stuff. Can you go too hard with these? Do you need to?
And not really.
gentle?
The metal arm that sticks down that goes inside, the screw goes into,
So it's going into metal.
it's going into a metal
it's not
arm.
like one of those
You don't, I mean,
plastic-
I've never had a
plastic
problem with
connection.
stripping the screw or
Okay.
anything. But when it stops, you stop.
Yeah, okay, great.
You can feel it when you got a hand screwdriver that it'll eventually stop.
Okay.
You just don't want to keep going after that. Now we got the top screw, or the back screws on this top panel is actually on. It ain't
Okay.
coming off.
Okay.
But now we got to put the bean hopper back in place.
And again, hopefully nothing.
The knob is still in the same spot.
Okay.
All right, just double check that before you put it in, and you can just drop it straight down. Now sometimes you have to, there's a gear here and a gear here, and
So hopefully they made up.
they
nice.
correspond with this arm
Mm-hmm.
for the dosing, and then this gear here for the adjustment on the grinder.
Wait, oh, that guy.
Yep,
Okay,
that guy there, and then the arm over here.
Okay.
This one goes to the arm, this one goes to the adjustment on the grinds. Now, if it pulls straight out, it should go right back in, but sometimes you might have to, see it's not going in, you might have to wiggle the
Just give a
gear
little
just a
turn.
little bit to get it to drop in all the
Match
way.
up. Okay.
Also, I want to point out, when you take out the bean hopper, sometimes this rubber boot comes with it,
Okay.
or it'll get knocked out of position. Just want you to make sure you're aware of this rubber boot and not forgetting about it. Because if that boot's not in there, the beans just fall
They're gonna
over
go
on the
over
inside
here.
of the machine. This
Machine full
boot
of
is
beans.
kind of a guide to keep the beans into
Okay.
the grinder.
So if it should come out, how does it go back?
It's just got 4 slots. It's like a plus shape,
Okay.
4-slot thing here.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the grinder itself, there's 4 arms that come out of the grinder.
Okay.
Those slots line right up to the grinder. You kind of just slide it in, get it in the right spot, and that boot will just drop down over those slots.
Okay. Great.
Okay?
All right.
Just making sure about that,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want people spilling beans all over. Now we got this in position. I usually take the bypass chute, so I'm not doing double work here. And take it, and there's a rubber thing that's on the bypass chute sometimes. It usually comes with it. If it doesn't, I usually pull it off and make sure I slide it over here before I put it in.
Bring it back on.
Because there's a little lip all the way around this rubber thing. You want to make sure it's on the bypass chute
Right.
before going in.
Okay.
And then I use my fingers to hold it in place.
While you're dropping that down.
And then you just drop it straight in. There is an opening down here. I don't know if you can see it, but see that rectangular opening?
Yep.
This goes into the rectangular opening.
Okay.
So you're going to go straight down. And once you get it in the right spot, you can let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as your ring around the rubber thing is still in position on the bypass chute, you can push straight down.
Okay. And if it's not lined up,
If
into
it's
the
not
hole,
lined up, you
it's
just
not-
pull it
won't
back
go
out and then, kind of get it back into position
Okay.
and then drop it down again. Because what will happen is if that rubber seal isn't in the right spot, or
Mm-hmm.
if it slides down and it gets bunched up, or you get a weird looking area and it's not going in properly.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to take all my screws, the 5 that I have left, 3 for the bean hopper and 2 for the bypass
Are
chute.
those all the same?
No, the bypass chute has 2 screws. They have a fine thread and
Okay.
they're kind of short.
Yep.
The bean hopper screws are a little bit longer, but a coarser thread.
Okay.
And there's 3 of them.
Okay. All right. So
Okay. So I'm going to take my bean hopper screws. Now this is, you're going to have to be careful with these sometimes. I go until it just stops. I mean, I'm used to it with a power drill, but with a hand screw, you're better off with it anyway.
Okay.
Because if you go too much on these screws into the support that holds it, it will actually strip the hole.
So be gentle.
Once you hit that stopping point, don't try to turn it no more.
Okay. So not
'Cause you'll ruin the
Not
hole.
a lot of torque on those.
Nope.
Okay.
Just when it stops.
Okay.
It's just made to hold the hopper in place, and the holes that the screws go into are kind of like a fiberglass material or plastic or something. And if you continue to try to force it into that hole, it'll chew it up and make it bad. And if you get all 3 of them like that, the hopper will just pull right out with the screws in it still.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah.
So be gentle replacing these ones. The screws on the back panel, Not a big issue. But
No, these ones are not a big issue. Sometimes you might even have to push it as you're screwing it to get
Okay.
it to go into the metal.
Gotcha.
These ones are more delicate.
Uh-huh.
You got to screw it until it stops.
Okay.
And then once it stops, don't turn it in anymore because you'll
Okay.
ruin the hull. These two, it doesn't really matter. They're going into metal also.
Okay.
They seem like they might take a little bit longer going in and out because they're a fine thread.
Fine thread. Yep. Okay.
So you just keep going until it stops. Boom.
All right.
And basically that's it. Now you can put your lid back on. You can put both of your bean hopper lids back into place. This one just sits on the top, of course.
Right. And then
The other one, you got your two arms that go into the clips. Be careful, you don't want to break them because sometimes the back ones will break if you push it just wrong.
okay.
I usually just
So
put
you're kind of up and down with
up
that.
and down with it, and then I'll push downwards,
And here it's snapping into place.
and
we're
now
good to
it's
go.
in. And then you put your tank back in,
And
power
turn
the
it
machine
on.
up, and we'll plug it in and then power it up. And it's going to do its warm up.
I was gonna say, so we can test that we got it
Yeah,
right.
once you get this, make sure it's in the correct position, and hopefully that's what the problem was for you. Once you get everything back together and you turn it on and everything, let it warm up, do its rinse cycle, you should be able to turn this knob and activate the switch now.
Okay.
When the switch is activated, that's when the machine knows to let the pump go and produce either hot water or steam.
Can we give it a little test with
Yes.
some hot water or something right now?
So, with the machine's warmed up and everything now,
Yep.
I'm gonna select hot water, just push it so it says hot water up here. We're gonna open the knob, and I can hear the pump going. We're
Yep.
getting water. It might take and get some air because we just put the tank on there and
Right,
opened everything
right.
up. But now that the air's out, water's constantly going. I can hear the pump going. The knob has activated the switch. Now, if I turn it just a little bit, you'll hear the pump stop. It's because it's not activating the switch anymore, but it's not totally closed.
Okay.
If you totally close it, then you're good.
You're good. Okay.
But we have water, the switch is correct, the knob is correct, everything should be good now.
Beautiful. Anything else we should know about that?
No, that's basically it. I mean, if we're having problems not getting hot water or steam out, and everything else seems to be working, it's usually because that knob is misaligned. Just a rare, weird occasion, and it's an easy fix, and it prevents a lot of problems once you get it done correctly.
All right. Ted, thanks a lot for showing us through that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hey, why not subscribe now for easy free access to more videos on everything coffee, brought to you by WholeLatteLove.com.